Joining us for more on this is the director of SOAS China Institute, Steve Sang, for his perspectives. He joins us from Nottingham in the UK. Thanks very much, Steve. You have made extensive comments on China's relationship with international law. Explain to our viewers what explains China's failure to communicate to the Interpol that its chief had been detained for questioning. It took China 12 days to confirm that Meng Hongwei was indeed in the custody of Chinese officials.
Well, what it tells us is that in terms of foreign policy priorities, the Chinese government puts the interest of the Communist Party ahead of that of everything else, including China's image and international standing. So they clearly had Mr. Meng under detention for quite a while. They just didn't think it was necessary and important to tell the Interpol about it.
Saying that the message being given out by Xi Jinping is that the crackdown on corruption comes above everything else, even informing a world body like the Interpol?
Well, it means if the party wants to take a senior party member down, then that takes priority over everything else. Whether Mr. Meng is guilty of corruption or not, we don't know. And whether he will be charged with other offenses, we don't know. It's fairly usual that when a ministerial rank official is being taken down, arrested, there would be allegations of corruption. But for Mr. Meng, who's been working as head of Interpol outside of China for 2 years, to be charged for corruption does seem a bit rather odd. Is the Chinese government charging Mr. Meng for corruption while Mr. Meng is working as head of Interpol? Should that not be the jurisdiction of Interpol? So there are a lot of unanswered questions in the Chinese government's official statement.
And this move also, of course, coming at the cost of Beijing's efforts to grab international positions, to grab leadership positions in international organizations. Would you agree?
Yes, I think the Chinese government's been very keen to take on as many leadership positions in international organizations as possible, something that they will consider as in line with China's standing in the world as the second largest economy and a permanent member of the Security Council. But the arrest or the disappearance of Mr. Meng for over a week really has not been very helpful to this Chinese objective. And that, of course, reflects that while it is important to the Chinese government, something else is more important, the party's interests.
And that being the crackdown on corruption, perhaps. But would you say that China should have informed Interpol or, in fact, the wife of Meng, at least, that he was in the custody of the Chinese authorities?
Well, it would simply be normal expectation and practice that if a country should arrest the head of Interpol for some criminal offense, that Interpol would be notified immediately. Under Chinese law, its family will also be required to be notified by the authorities shortly after somebody has been arrested. So if Mr. Meng had been arrested by the Chinese authorities, they should have informed his family very quickly on. And since he was the head of Interpol, it would not have been difficult for the Chinese government to know the contact details for Mr. Meng's family.
Would you also say this is rather humiliating for Interpol, an agency which is tasked with finding missing people, was left completely clueless for as long as 12 days on the whereabouts of its own chief?
Well, this is clearly deeply embarrassing for Interpol, bearing in mind in particular that when Mr. Meng was being nominated for the presidency of Interpol about 2 years ago, there were considerable reservations being articulated by human rights organizations. Interpol should learn the lessons that appointing somebody, a senior public security figure from a very hard authoritarian government to head its operations is really quite inappropriate. Human rights should also matter for Interpol.